this is a question we start a lot of episodes out, and I don't know which episodes of the podcast you've listened to, Adrian. What did your childhood smell like?
Oh,
like memories, the smells of growing up. You know, we all have those memories. So.
I have a lot of memories that come in play. A lot of it had to do with growing up. You know, we weren't in the richest neighborhood. You know, we were living in Utah housing through the system for a while, growing up there. And one thing that started helping me was a lot of the Utah housing was doing a lot of teen programs and things like that would get kids together, take them to field trips, take them to go bowling, paintballing, things like that. That's where I actually started opening up a little more, started enjoying the actual atmosphere of getting out there and doing different things, different activities with a lot of different types of kids, because it was kids from all different backgrounds, and it was just fun to go out and do different things. So I wasn't the perfect child, you know, we all get in trouble in high school and, you know, little things here and there. But it was very, very eye-opening to see and witness all the stuff that I grew up around, because I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't because of that.
Sure.
So all that stuff, you know, there was a lady that was a very good mentor of mine. Her name's Michelle Staley. She pretty much tried to keep me out of the whole gang life and that kind of stuff, you know, trying to put me in the right path. So she stuck with me for a while. So like, you know, a lot of compliments to her for sticking in there, because I wasn't the easiest kid to deal with.
Where did you grow up? Where do you call home? Where's all that for you? Let's get a little background here about you, Adrian.
All right, so the background, I mean, I grew up in Guadalajara, Mexico. That's where I grew up. I was there till I was 5 years old. My parents ended up coming to Salt Lake. My dad had a job already set up here, so we all ended up coming over here because of that. And we pretty much grew up in the Glendale area. For a couple of years, we stayed there through elementary. We ended up going to West Valley after that. Grew up there in the Granger area, so grew up in the Utah housing program there with them, and there was a lot of fun activities that they had us do, just because, I mean, being a kid, you get into different things, you know, get in trouble.
Were you a good kid? I picture you as kind of a bad kid, right? Or
I was a little bit of
a reformed hooligan?
A little bit of both. I did enough to get away from not getting caught.
Yeah.
Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I did enough to...
But you were a kid. What do you expect,
I mean,
right?
it's teenage years. You want to play around. You want to do things. So, you know, you do enough just to get by. But I was also a big flirt back in my days. So, you know, I just tried to stay away from the troubleness of it all.
Do you ever make it back to Mexico very often, or at all, maybe?
I've been there about 3 or 4 times. I still have an older brother that lives out there. Just because he got deported, can't come to the U.S., so we go out there to visit him here and there.
Yeah.
So we do go back. It's just not a place I love to go back to.
So you like living here in Salt Lake?
I love living here. This is home for me. I don't see me going anywhere other than Salt Lake. I've been to other cities, you know, different places here and there just to go and visit. Spend some time, get to know the place, you know, California,
sure,
Idaho, things like that. But Utah's home.
I love it. And, well, let's jump in. Do you care? Let's jump right into the shoe shine stuff, because I find this so interesting. So I've been going to Isaac over at Salt Lake Barber for, gosh, it's been a while. I don't even want to throw a date out there. But he would always tell me, oh, you got to bring Adrian on the podcast. He's got such a cool thing that he's doing here in Salt Lake with shiny shoes, and him and I will talk. I mean, Isaac and I are friends on top of just getting haircuts from him. So excited to finally bring you on the show. Now,
thank you.
How did this all start for you. How did the idea come into your head to start a shoe shine business? I mean, it's a lost art.
It is. Not that many people do it anymore. It all started back in about 97 is when I started doing the shoe shine business itself. My uncles, they all worked at the Salt Lake City airport. And so they all were doing, two of them had a full-time job. They made it a full-time career.
They were shining shoes
Shining shoes over there.
Okay.
And so they were there during the week. Then me and my other uncle were just the part-time weekend guys. So we would just go Saturday, Sunday, and just do a couple hours, and that was it. But how I got into it was my uncles got tired of me asking them for money. Because I was only, you know, regular job. Every 2 weeks they give you a paycheck, that kind of stuff. And you don't make much. And so I would always tell them, say, hey, you know, I want to take these girls out. Will you lend me some money till I can get my payday?
Yeah.
And so I knew that they always had cash. And so I just asked, hey, let me borrow a couple bucks, you know, $100 here and there. And they didn't have a problem with it because they knew I'd pay. So they were just like, they finally just got tired of it and said, well, why don't you come work at the airport with us and just do weekend shifts?
How old or like how long ago was this?
This was back in 97.
Oh,
so,
97, okay.
So I was about 16 years old,
okay.
16, 17 years old.
So quite a while ago. Yeah.
And then the whole September 11th thing and everything changed. You know, because once that happened, the security got stricter. Back then, the airport was like my mall. It was just a place to go hang out, meet people. I mean...
You probably met a ton of cool people working at the airport, man.
A lot. Plus the women.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And you know, they fly in, you never have to see them again, right?
That was the best part. But, no, it was good. It was interesting. There's a lot of neat things going on at the airport at all times, especially if you like to do a lot of people watching. It was very interesting to see what a lot of people actually do. You know, some things are pretty like, oh, common sense. You know, common sense, but don't try to carry a knife through security. You know, it's like...
I hear about
really?
some of the stuff that people bring through, so I'm like, what the...
That has to be great people watching.
Yeah.
Oh, it was very entertaining, because I never got bored. And then, plus, I was a young teenage kid, so what I did was I took my Xbox with me. I bought a little flip screen that attaches right to it. I'd just sit there and play video games and waiting for customers to show up.
Do they still shine shoes, your uncles, at the airport or no?
Two of them passed away. There's one of them that's still doing it. He's still doing the weekend thing, so he does it Saturday and Sunday there.
Very cool, very cool. So it's kind of a little bit of like a family business to a degree. It was where you learned, but then you kind of went out and started your own thing.
I did, because I told them from the beginning that, you know, we needed to get out of the whole thing of paying rent, you know, booth rent. Because that's pretty much the setup that they had, is you would show up, you would work the hours that you work, and even if you didn't show up, you had to pay for that booth for that day. And so we were paying $60 every day that we would go to work. So it wasn't,
if you didn't make any money,
it wasn't bad unless you didn't make any money.
Out $60.
Yeah, so sometimes you'd actually have to pay out of your own pocket just to cover that day. And so it wasn't bad. The airport has a lot of foot traffic, which is the best part of this whole deal, is the foot traffic. If you don't have that foot traffic, you don't make any money. The other thing is that you got to catch attention. So we would just sit in the chair and just say shoe shine as people walk by, and most of the time you just look at the guys and they'll look down at their shoes as they're walking up the concourse and be like, oh, I do need to get it done, and then turn around.
So what made you, so just the fact that you didn't want to pay the rent anymore is what kind of made you want to open up your own?
No, it sort of just fell into that. So that was my thought back then, was I wanted to do our own thing, because it was me and my 3 uncles, and so I figured, well, I have 3 people that can help me do this. Why don't we do our own thing? My plan eventually is to have a mobile truck. Right now I do mobile events, but I want to do a mobile truck so that way I can show up to any kind of high-rise building, just let the receptionist know, hey, I'm downstairs. Will you just send a massive email, see if anybody's interested? You know, if I have 10, 15 people that are interested, I'll just sit downstairs, do them in the van, drop them right off, and off I go to the next building. So I've had a lot of these ideas since I started doing the business there, but I never really jumped into it. How it fell through was when one of my first uncles passed away. We went to his burial site, and that was one of the promises I gave him. You know, as we buried him, was I'm gonna make this happen, and it's gonna be known. Yeah. You know, our at least the name. You know, the Zamora family, you know, can get up there, and you know, they're the ones that taught me the business. They're the ones that got me into it. So I at least wanted people to see the work.
I love it.
I was going to say, I love that idea of getting a mobile shop and taking it to office buildings. That's kind of a new trend that a lot of people are jumping on, like office people. They'll do it just because you're there.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great plan.
I mean, right now I do events, so companies can hire me to show up to their building. I have a mobile chair that I take with me. I just set it up in a little conference room and in a little corner area, and we do events. So if they're bringing people in to, like the last one I did was citywide, home loans.
Yeah.
They hired me to show up and do all the realtors for the company, and so I just sat in a little conference room and put me in a corner. As the guys were walking in, I would just sit right there and get all the shoes done. I ended up doing 40 pairs in 6-7 hours, and it was pretty cool to meet everybody that were going to go there anyway.
Yeah. How do you reach out and how do you kind of sell yourself to people for events? Do you reach out to them, or do they reach out to you?
Actually, they just find me on Google.
Wow.
That's actually where a lot of them have been finding me so far. Is they just Google shoe shine and they find out that I do events and things like that.
But how do they even know? Like, I wouldn't even think of that, but it's very rad. It's different.
Yeah, it's very different.
I mean, I wish I would have known about this for a wedding, right? How cool would that
have been?
I have done weddings,
really?
Quinceañeras, you know, different things like that. Even company parties. You know, company parties, instead of giving, you know, their employees a gift,
might as well just
bring your nice shoes.
Bring your nice shoes and get them cleaned up. And
because I've seen on your website, man, you've really cleaned. I mean, if somebody wants their shoes cleaned up, come to Adrian. I mean, you do. It's not just a shine. It's somehow you make them almost look as good as new, almost to a degree. I don't want to, you know.
So that's my ultimate goal is. I mean, anybody can shine a pair of shoes, right? You can buy the products. You can do the work at home. Anybody can do it at home. But knowing how to take care of the leather or their tennis shoes the right way is a different type of skill set. You know, no one has the time to sit there and do it right or know the facts of what you're doing or what you're putting onto the shoe is going to make the shoe last longer or anything like that. So I've been in this business for 16 years. So there's a lot of things that I've done that sometimes don't work out. So you do live and learn by your mistakes, because there ain't nobody out here that can teach you.
Yeah, you got to learn. That's the only way to know if you're going to be, you know, successful or if an idea is going to work. Now, so you're currently, I don't think we've gotten into where you're stationed right now. You're at Trolley Square now.
Correct.
And people can also, like listeners, explain how that works. So people could drop off at like Salt Lake Barber.
Correct.
And explain how that works, Adrian.
So I right now, the way that I have it set up, I work out of Trolley Square Barbers. It's a barber shop inside Trolley Square, and that's where I mainly have a full setup. I have the chair. They can book online, that kind of stuff, through their website. So I do have that set up there. At the Salt Lake Barber Company, I have a drop-off only option. And so, you know, as they're leaving the shoes, they just send me a text, hey, there's a couple pairs for you, and I'll stop on my way, get them done before I go over to Trolley. I do have a dry cleaner company I deal with, Henry's Dry Cleaning.
Oh, yeah. They used to be down on Broadway. Now they're up Where are they located?
They have 5 different locations. One of the main ones is the one right downtown, off of like 2nd or 3rd, something like that.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
But those guys have a drop-off service also.
Okay.
And so what they do is they have their drivers, as you drop off your clothes and your shoes, the driver takes them to me at trolley. I shine them up, and then they pick them up and deliver them back to the same store, and then the customer gets them through there.
Is there a drop-off with Chase or no? Do you do anything with Chase?
We're actually setting up over at Taylor Cooperative.
Yeah.
We're setting up an actual drop-off service, and we're going to do a booth kind of deal, a chair and stuff like that. Because they've hired me 3 or 4 times to do events there, so it's pretty awesome.
Great guys over there.
Oh, they are.
So what are do you have hours, or what's the best way if somebody listening wanted to come over to Trolley to get like an in-person shoe shine from you? Do you have to like set an appointment or just stop on by, or what?
Appointments are always best because then I know that someone's coming in at that certain time.
Okay.
Usually I'm there Monday to Friday from 3 to 8 in the afternoon, just because I work for DABC in the mornings, and so I work in a warehouse, and I do that in my morning for a full-time shift, just because the shoe shine thing it was a hobby to begin with. You know, it was something that I sort of fell right into, and I just figured, well, might as well do it. I already have the skill sets. I already have all this material. I might as well do it, because the whole September 11th thing is what really caused me to move out from the airport.
Well, it's actually turned out to be one of the best things, I'm sure.
And it was very good for me.
Let's actually take a really fast break here, play a couple of messages here from our sponsors. I know we've just skimmed the surface, though, about what you got going on. So hang tight. We'll be right back after these messages. Go ahead. If you want to start it there.
Yeah, no, I was curious because you said you do sneakers. What kind of shoes? Do you do any kind of shoes that people want to bring in?
I do. I do a lot of women's boots, you know, a lot of different types of shoes that you guys carry. I also do bags, like purses.
Oh, like leather purses and stuff?
Leather purses, belts, jackets, all that kind of stuff. Anything that has to do with leather, I pretty much have done. I haven't done a lot of, just because people don't really bring them too often.
I don't think people really know to bring them, that they can bring them and get them shined.
Yeah, until they either talk to me or see it on the website or follow me on Instagram, that kind of stuff, then they somewhat see some of the ideas of things that I've done.
Yeah.
What is your name on Instagram so people can follow you there?
So shoe_shine_SLC.
Okay, and I'll put that link at iamsaltlake.com as well. Christina mentioned sneakers, and when I met you today, you were talking you're starting to paint sneakers. Could we talk about that at all?
Sure.
Or explain that process, how that, or what you're painting, or what do you got going on?
Well, the one thing with the dress-up shoes is you have a certain amount of people that have dress-up shoes, and half of the people they like to wear the Jordans. They like to wear the sneakers. They want to be comfortable in those shoes. And so I'm starting to get it more into customizing them. So customizing tennis shoes, repainting them, re-dyeing them. So if you have a certain color that you want, if the tennis shoe is white but you want to make it a light pink for your kids, you know, I've done those. I painted some for my daughter where she had the regular white Adidas and wanted the little Adidas signs painted pink because she wanted pinkish white shoes. So I custom painted those for her so she can take to school. Little things like that. So I do have a friend of mine that I'm trying to get more into the shoe thing with me so he can do more of the full design of shoes.
So he paints it, or he draws it.
I'm trying to get him to paint shoes for me. Like do a full facial of your favorite basketball player, picture of your kids
if you know,
on the shoe. I'm trying to get him more into the shoe thing. I haven't pushed him into doing one just yet. We do have, I bought all the supplies and everything on how to do it. I'm just waiting for him to actually make that move because he's a really good artist. But
I feel like this is a good opportunity for us to really guilt trip him into doing it.
Wow.
I hope so. I hope he listens to this.
You know who you are.
I'm going to push him more into it because that's ultimately, you know, the one thing that I want to do is be the guy to go to for any kind of shoe that you want done. So if you want custom leather painted shoes, you want your bag painted, if you want your tennis shoes redone, any kind of custom stuff is where I'm trying to push more into. Other than, you know, showing you guys how to maintain and keep your shoes in good shape so they last longer, because it's an investment.
Sure.
You're gonna spend $200, $300, $400, $500, sometimes even up to $1,000 on a pair of shoes. Why not take care of them?
Yeah.
What are some tips for somebody who has a nice pair of leather shoes? What are I don't know if we could you share a few tips? With them?
Yeah, there's a lot of things they should do. One thing is having shoe trees. So the shoe trees go a long way. Keeps the shoes from bending on the front end, so they don't start looking like a banana on the front. They actually stay flat and they keep its shape. So shoe trees is a big part of it. Another big thing is rotating. So you never want to wear the same shoe day in, day out, every single day.
This is for leather, high quality.
Yeah, for any high quality leather shoes or even tennis shoes, you don't want to wear the same shoe every single day because you're going to get that shoe used to the bend when you walk.
True. And
so you don't want to get it used to that, so you want to alternate them. You want to wear one pair of shoes one day, change them to another, but it's also because your feet sweat inside the shoe. And so you want the leather and everything to absorb and get dry, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. No, I know exactly.
So it doesn't stay moist inside.
How long do you think it takes for shoes to fully dry out? Would you want to wait 3 days, 4 days? I guess it depends on how.
Pretty much couple hours.
Couple hours.
You know, but you don't want to put them in front of a heater.
Yeah, to dry out.
The heater will just tear them up. And so you just got to let them air dry, and you just put shoe trees in them. There are a lot of different things that you can do for smells. You know, baking soda, baking powder, that kind of stuff that you can mix up and put inside the shoe. And I've heard tea bags also work. So there's a lot of different tricks that you can do depending on what you want to achieve out of it. But the main thing is rotating them.
So how many pairs of shoes do you think somebody should have?
I
guess that depends on the person, right?
on the money and what your styles are.
Yeah, she's like, Christina's like, I think like 80 or something. Right?
I wish I was a shoe person.
I mean, most people that I talk to, the average is anywhere between 4 to 10.
Are you a shoe guy?
I am. It's the first thing that everybody looks at. I mean, you wouldn't think.
You think so? You think that's the first thing, huh?
Okay, so
I think you're right.
Don't get me wrong.
That's very true.
When you meet a girl, okay, let's just put it this way: you meet a girl at a bar. The first thing she looks at is she looks at you. She looks at you up and down, and
judges you.
And judges you. Yeah. Same thing that when you go to an interview, the exact same thing happens when you meet somebody anywhere. The first thing they do is they look at you up and down to see how you present yourself. It's all about presentation, right? So why have this really nice suit that you spent $1,000, $2,000 on a nice suit, and then you look at your shoes and they're all beat up and torn and
do you see that a lot? Apart. Do you see that a lot with guys?
Utah is very famous for that.
Really? See, and I guess I don't hang out with. I got to be honest. I don't even own a pair of nice leather shoes. I don't really dress up like in a suit. But if I did, I would want to.
You'd want to finish off the look, right?
Yeah, man, a nice pair of. Where do you even? Okay, here's a question for you. Where would you go to buy a nice pair of leather shoes in Utah? Is there a lot of places to get a decent pair of leather shoes? Like dress shoes?
There's a couple places. The Oxford shop that's downtown, off of
it's by the Salt.
By the Salt Palace.
Yeah,
so they have quite a bit of dress-up shoes there. Nordstrom's is another one. Taylor Cooperative is starting to make their own custom shoes. You know, those are more of the 400 to 500 range.
What's a good way to tell? Okay, so I mean, I guess that was a big question to say where do you buy them, but what is a good way to tell it's a good quality shoe versus a bad quality shoe? Or does that matter, I guess?
Well, every company has the high end, the low, and the middle grade, depending on what kind of achievement they want to do. Because depending on the product. So calfskin is one of the most known to get the better results on shines. So depending on the leather itself. I've done crocodile, I've done ostrich. Elephant is very fun and complicated to do.
Why is it complicated?
Because it is very dry,
okay,
thick, and it absorbs everything.
Wow. So it's a little more temperamental.
It is, because you can't really get a shine out of this. All you can do is just pretty much moisturize it. And then you have the fish scales, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can get into a lot of different types of leathers just depending on the style and who makes it, where you get it from. It all determines.
Is there a leather that you won't touch? Like, is there a shoe that you're like, I don't want to deal with this? Or, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like if there's too many complications that could happen and it's just not worth it.
There's only been one instance that I can remember where
you were just like, no.
I looked at it and I was like, do I really want to take the risk? Most of it was a suede. It was a light tan suede boot, but these things were already stained. So he had a certain stain, and I didn't know what the stain was. And I told him, I said, look, we can risk it. We can try to see if we can get the stains out, but I'm not guaranteeing anything because of the stains already in there. I don't know how long it's been sitting in there. I don't know what it is. He couldn't even tell me what it was. And sometimes even regular leather shoes get water stains. And if you don't take the water off of it fast enough, it'll stain it and it will never come out unless you re-dye it again.
I'm sure in the winter time too, it's harder with all like the road salt and the salts on the road and even just slush puddles. I mean, I walk outside to my car and I accidentally step in the wrong hole and then all of a sudden my shoes are immersed in water. I bet you're actually busier probably in the winter months, or no?
It determines, because I wish I was, because it is the time frame where you want to take care of your shoes. You want to make sure that you get at least some kind of protection on them, so that way you don't damage them. So waterproofing the shoes, cleaning them up every once in a while, that kind of stuff will keep the lifespan of the shoe going longer. So, I mean, the wintertime is where most people sometimes will just throw them in a closet and not wear them until summertime. And so it does slow down a little bit, but then you got other people that will bring them in to get them cleaned up before they put them in the closet.
Okay.
Do shoes normally come waterproofed, or is it something that you should proactively do when you buy shoes? I don't know anything about shoes.
I don't think any shoes come waterproofed.
I don't know.
Well,
like nice leather ones?
There's some, depending on the company. Some companies will, but some other companies won't, just because they make them in a warehouse and it's fast production kind of stuff, so they don't really do much to them. It's just a flat, basic leather, and they just put it together. But they do put some kind of a clear coat on it, which does protect it, but it doesn't protect it as much.
Mm-hmm.
What do you enjoy the most out of what you do, shining shoes? Like, what is the most rewarding thing for you? Does that make sense? Like, what do you enjoy the most out of what you're doing?
To me, it's all the connections. I mean, all the people that I get to meet and talk to is what I enjoy the most. Like, for instance, when I get someone in the chair, the first question I ask them is, how's your day going? The next question I can ask them is, what kind of things have you done with these shoes on? What kind of experiences have you went through just with these pair of shoes? Like, how long have you had them? Oh, 4 years. Okay, well, tell me of one good experience you had while wearing these.
I bet you hear a lot of crazy stories.
A lot of crazy stories, which is very cool to get to know people one by one just like that, because one little story will make me remember who they are.
Do you get a lot of repeats?
Oh, a lot. Once they sit in my chair and they get my service done, they keep coming back. Because in Utah, there is nobody that does the work that I do.
Well, and you're kind of like a therapist too, right? Like I tell Isaac over at Salt Lake Barber, I'm like, man, you must just get some of the craziest confessions in here. Because these guys come back, every few 2, 3, 4 weeks to get their hair cut, come back to Isaac or whoever over there. And I'm sure you're dealing with the same thing.
Exact same deal.
Yeah. Man, I bet you hear some stuff you're like,
yeah. Sometimes you're like, maybe I shouldn't have asked.
What's the hardest thing, like the most challenging thing about what you're doing?
The most challenging is the workout. I mean, it's not easy. So you do get a good workout while you're doing this. So to begin with, you don't have to go to the gym to get a workout, which I've never have. I went to the gym probably 1 or 2 years while I was in high school. That was about it. Obviously, I'm not in the best shape, but I also love to eat. So, the biggest challenge is the workout part of it, because you're constantly doing the brushes, the rags, everything like that. But the most rewarding is seeing the results that come out of, it's like artwork. Sure. You start with a pair of shoes that is just all torn up and it looks like it's falling apart, and they come and bring them to you and they're all like, these are my oldest pair of shoes and I really love them because they're so comfortable, but I don't want to get rid of them.
There's a lot of memories with shoes, man. A lot of history, and I know how it is for me. I don't want to get rid of a pair of shoes. Well, those shoes got me through some tough times.
Yeah,
right?
Like I said, the history, the things that you went through with those. Sometimes you don't think about the memories, but then certain memories do come back.
What if somebody who's listening? We get a lot of listeners that want to open their own business, right? And not a shoe shine business, but just business in general. Do you have a piece of advice that you would give them, Adrian?
The biggest thing is good luck.
Yeah,
it's rough. It's depending on what you're trying to get into. Like for me, I knew the business, I knew the background, I had the supplies. The only thing I didn't have was a location. And the location was a little hard at the very beginning to try to figure out where a good spot would be to set up and that kind of thing.
So how did you find Trolley then to do that? I don't think you shared that yet, did you?
Well, the way I found Trolley was I went to Nordstrom downtown. I went to go spoil myself for my birthday to go get a shoe shine. And so when I went to Nordstrom, the lady that was working there, I asked her, I said, well, there's no places other than you that I know of here in Salt Lake other than the airport to get this done. And she said, no, it's just me and the barbershop up the street. I said, okay, barbershop. I said, well, where's that at? She goes, oh, it's just the one right around the corner. Just go down Main. It's like 2nd or 3rd South and Main Street. I said, okay, well, I'll go check it out. Found out it's Ray's barbershop.
Yeah.
So I showed up there. They had a big shoe shine stand with nobody working it. And I asked them, I said, well, does anybody do the shoe shine here? And they're like, well, it's just whoever wants to come and do it, we'll just give them a shot. I was like, really? I said, okay. So they told me one lady did it. And then when I set up the appointment with her, I found out my uncle trained her how to do shoe shines, which was very amazing to find out.
It's a small world.
It was.
Yeah.
And so I talked to her and I told her, I said, well, I want to get back into this. I said, I have all my supplies. It's just sitting at home collecting dust. I was going to even sell it at one point. I was like, I don't have anything to do with it. So, then I see your stand here. I said, I got a couple hours, 3-4 hours a day that I can probably come in for a couple hours. What do you think? And she goes, yeah. She goes, come set up and see how you like it. And for me, it was just something I was going to try out to kill some time.
Of course, yeah.
So when I got in there, I started getting more of that clientele. I built it very, very quick. And there was a lot of people telling me, well, you're so good at this. Why don't you just make it a business? And I was like, well, it's just a hobby. I just do it here and there just to do something to kill some time. And some of the barbers that worked there at Ray's, yeah, they actually wanted to open up their own shop. And so they all got together and ended up opening up Trolley Square Barbers.
And then you followed along.
And they told me, they're all like, well, why don't you come and open a shop here and then we can expand, and you can do your own thing, because we don't know anything about shoe shine, and you're really good at what you do. So come open up over here, and then you can do both locations. So that was the ultimate plan, was to open up more spots and do more work, expand a little more. When I mentioned the plan to my coworker, the other lady that was doing the shoe shine, she blew up on me.
Now the other lady at Ray's.
At Ray's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she blew up on me. She didn't want me to expand. She didn't want me to go do anything else. And I guess it was just not the right time for her to find out that I was going to expand. And then she was already mad that some of the guys that were leaving were going over there. And so she just thought Ray's was going to go downhill. And so I don't know what all caused it, but she just said, no, just grab your stuff and go.
Oh, wow. Get out of here.
She goes, just get your stuff and go. I said, okay, I'm good. Said, I'll just grab my stuff and walk out. So.
And then you went over to trolley.
And now it's in control of your own destiny, right?
Oh, and that's the part that I love the most, is it went from being a hobby to a full-blown business, and it just keeps on growing every single day.
So what do you do when you're not shining shoes? Like, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? I want to find out a little bit here about Adrian before I lose you here. Like, what, I mean, you sound like you stay pretty busy with work.
Yeah, right now I'm pretty busy with work, but I do enjoy doing family things, getting together with the family. We do a lot of going out to the bars, the clubs, different things like that. I love to dance, so that's one thing I enjoy, is going.
Like what kind of dancing?
Just anything. I listen to every kind of music, dance to anything I can get into. It doesn't matter what it is. The thing that I enjoy is paintballing. I like to go out and paintball here and there. So
I've never done that. Have you done that, Christina?
Oh, I think I may have done it once. A long time ago.
It does hurt when you get hit in the wrong place, but it is very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there can be some serious bruising sometimes, huh?
Yes.
Do you make it out much to like live music at all? Do you have like a memorable concert or a sporting event that you've been to?
Not really. I have done a couple concerts where I do the shoe shine business as an event there.
Oh, very cool.
And so I have set up inside one of those. Usually I try to invite my wife to come along, tag along with me, so that way if I'm not doing any shoes, she can
check out the music.
We can just shut it all down and go and enjoy the music instead.
I love it. Let's talk Salt Lake City for a minute, if that's okay with you guys. I want to talk. There's a few questions that we ask pretty much everybody who comes through here. Being a Salt Lake City podcast, is if somebody's visiting Salt Lake, right? They're coming here for the first time, Adrian. What would you say? Oh, you got to go do this or go check this out. And the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know. Well,
a lot of things. Anybody that comes from out of town, they always want to go check out, obviously, the temple.
Sure.
They want to check out the Capitol. Mm-hmm. They, little things like that. But mainly the mountains is the best part. I mean, we tell all the people all my family members that come from out of town, when they come in, we go and do camping. We do a lot of picnics and things like that up there. Go to the waterfalls. Just a little bit of hiking here and there, and just enjoy it. Just love the outdoors.
So you take advantage of the outdoors.
Oh, yes.
We need to actually start doing that, Christina.
We do. Everybody says it's really great. And
you guys have not done that?
Well, occasionally. Occasionally we do. I've never been a big outdoorsy person. And I know that surprises a lot of people in Salt Lake City, right? People taking advantage of the hikes and the skiing and the snowboarding and the camping. And
it looks great, but I'm a klutz.
Yeah.
And so I'm scared of doing things because I'm like, well, if I go outside, I'm going to break something. So I usually just stay inside. But, there's always more time to try, right?
Yeah. I mean, the camping is just very relaxing just to get out there. I mean, the whole tent setup thing I enjoy because it doesn't feel right to take a trailer. Sure. But I hear, I've had friends take trailers and they have their bathrooms there, they have TVs there. I mean, it's the comfort, everybody's personal opinion on it. for me, I just want to get away from technology, get away from the phones,
Just
nothing,
unplug.
just be out there and just let the kids run around, go and do activities with the kids, play and swim, and just don't swim drunk.
That's today's recommendation on the podcast. Don't swim
Don't
drunk.
swim drunk.
What would you change about Salt Lake? Is there anything you would change if you could?
I actually would not change anything. I love the way Salt Lake is. I love the setup, other than the air quality, which we all complain about. But other than that, Salt Lake is great. I wouldn't choose anywhere else.
It's a great response, right? Instead of just coming at it complaining, I think that is a tough question to answer, because it's like, gosh, you don't want to complain, but it's always curious what people would change. What about a favorite local eating spot? Is there like one or two places that you love to go to that you would recommend listeners of the podcast to check out?
I eat anywhere where they let me eat.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was like
everywhere.
one or two special places for you.
It all depends on the type of food that you're into at the moment. Like if you want good Mexican, there's a restaurant that's over in West Valley that I enjoy. It's El Paisa Grill.
What's it called?
El Paisa Grill.
Do you about know where it's located? Just roughly.
It's off of
just a rough estimate.
2132nd, something around there, right off of
west.
the freeway.
Yeah.
Right off west off the freeway. And so I go there once in a while just because of the Mexican food that they have. It's pretty decent.
Pretty good and authentic.
Yeah, and then there are a couple different restaurants that are similar that are really good depending on what style. So if you want tacos, certain places better than others. If you want what they call a molcajete. So a molcajete is pretty much a mixture of different kinds of meat, shrimp, cactus, cheese, peppers. They mix it all into this big pot, and it feeds 4 or 5 people all at once.
I love it.
That actually sounds really good.
Very, very yummy.
Yeah. Wow.
Where would you go to get some of that?
Yeah.
Same place that El Paisa Grill.
Right on.
Very famous for it.
Go check that out.
It's on the list.
We have listeners of the show, Adrian, that they'll tell me, they'll be like, oh, I'm writing down all these places that people on the show recommend, so because everybody always recommends somewhere different. And that's what I'd like to ask.
Yeah, and I go everywhere. Like I love the Groves. The big sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. Grove's Deli over there, about 1700 South in Maine.
Yeah, so it depends. I change it up. I never do the same food twice, so I always go to different places and enjoy it, and then I try to rate them. So
yeah,
that's a good way to do it. There's so many good places to eat out here.
Oh, there is.
It'd be hard to get everywhere.
Exactly.
Well, I know we've just skimmed the surface on what you do with Shining Shoes and in your business, and people can hire you for events. As we kind of wrap this episode recording up today, Adrian, how can listeners, your website, what is your website address that people can go to?
Shoe Shine Salt Lake City.
Okay. And I'll put that at iamsaltlake.com. What, so you shine shoes for men, women, purses,
kids,
whatever.
Everything you want to fix up, huh?
Very cool.
That's really cool. I never would have thought to bring women's boots to you. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I never would, or a belt or a purse.
And I'm sure
recommend them to your friends, guys.
I'm sure what you do is a heck of a lot cheaper than going out and buying a brand new pair of shoes.
It is. Yeah. And it's the breaking in part too. You don't have to deal with that part anymore. Yeah. Because once you break in a good, comfortable pair of shoes, the hard part about buying a new pair is breaking them in.
Oh, it's the worst
part. Feet are going to hurt.
They blister.
The shoes are too tight or they're too loose, and you're going to have all sorts of problems. So if you have a very good, comfortable pair of shoes and you want it to last and you want to keep it in shape, bring them to me. I'll take care of it, or I'll show you how.
Do you have a Facebook page?
I have a Facebook page, and the Instagram is
the same,
where I try to
thing.
do the majority of my work and stuff is on Instagram. And then you can find me on YouTube. I have some YouTube videos that I've posted on there on some of my work and things like that. So
we were talking earlier about how a lot of people listen to your videos for ASMR.
Yes. So I do have I do have quite a bit of YouTube videos up there. I think I'm up to 15. Another customer that got me into the YouTube videos. He posted one on that he was the first one that we did, and it's over 6K views on it so far.
No kidding.
Which is very awesome. That's what convinced me to start my own channel.
How can people find you? Same name?
Same name, Shoeshine Salt Lake City, or Shoeshine, and then it pops up.
Okay.
But subscribing would be the best part. I got a lot of views, I just don't have a lot of subscribers yet.
Well, let's get all the listeners of I Am Salt Lake to at least go over and subscribe to your channel.
At least.
I'm going to check it out because I haven't had the opportunity to check it out yet.
Yeah.
I know Christina has a final question that she likes to end the show out. Before she asks this question, Adrian, is there anything else you want to say before we close out today?
No, other than you guys know how to find me. Either Trolley Square or look me up. You can Google me and I'll help you out with whatever we can. Any events or anything like that you guys want to set up. I'm here to do whatever. So
very cool.
Would you leave our listeners with one piece of life advice?
Biggest thing is take care of yourself. I mean, health is number one. If you don't have your health, you ain't gonna have anything else.
I love it.
Solid.
Perfect place to end the show. Thank you so much, Adrian, for coming and doing this today. I know it's who wants to come and sit down and record a podcast? No, I don't.
No, this is pretty cool because I've never done anything like this. So to be the first one that actually that I have done, it's pretty exciting.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks
for coming on.
Very cool.
Thank you.